Good evening, buenas tardes for us because it is daytime as you can see, but good evening, Annenberg Center Spring Film Series audiences. It is an honor to come to you today to spend some time with this fabulous group of folks that are the team behind Calle De Resistencia. Hope you enjoyed the film. If you're watching the Q&A before or the talk back before you watch the film, you're in for a treat, but I guarantee you, once you get an opportunity to watch this piece of work, you're gonna love it and you're gonna be in love with this group. So I just wanna start us with, my name is Marangeli Mejia-Rabell, and I have the honor to serve as the director of the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, and I'm also the Taína of Afro Taíno. And I have I want to thank the Annenberg team for giving us this opportunity to spend some time with this wonderful team. So let's start with a quick round of introductions. So if you can give me, each one can give me your name, because I know my accent is going to kill them later. And tell us what your role within the production is, will be greatly appreciated. So who wants to start? Shafiq, you want to start?
The ladies should go first, no?
Hey, I'll defer. Okay.
Denise.
Soy Denise Blasor. I'm the director and one of the actors. And I give you now la productora.
Hi, hola, mi nombre es Martixell Carrero. Hi, my name is Martixell Carrero. I am an actress and producer, among other things, of this beautiful film, Calle De Resistencia.
Muy bien.
And my name is Shafiq Lasami, also known as Chill for a lot of industry people and good friends. And I was fortunate enough to be the co-producer.
Very good.
And
Last but not least, Caballero.
Pues I am Milton Carrero, and I am the writer of the script and the songs most of the songs that make up this beautiful musical.
Yay.
Yeah, muy bien. So let's talk about it. First, I need to share. This was a very emotional experience. So captivating. It was really, I truly enjoyed it. Very engaging and at the same time very emotional. So I'm very grateful and come to you very humbly with that sense of gratitude for putting this piece together. So let's start talking about the creative process. How did this begin? Because I know it's a musical, but now it's a film. So take us through that journey. And I know there's a pandemic somewhere in the middle of all that.
Milton.
Wow. Well, it started as a surprise, really. I was covering Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, all that aftermath, pretty intensely through the first year. And I was keeping up a blog for the Morning Call in Allentown, Pennsylvania, who were among the first ones to call and check in and say, how are you doing? And can you report while you're at this? But also I was covering most of the recovery for the LA Times too. And it was really an opportunity to see my island and my people from their core at a time of suffering, going to the mountain, seeing the helicopters delivering food, seeing the lines and the families struggling to get the most basic needs met. And so all of that kind of lingered. As a journalist, you have to move very quickly, and in a time of an emergency, you just have to send the information where it's most needed about the communities that are in most peril. And so that was a time of transformation for the whole island, including myself. And it matured until later on with some developments of corruption, and specifically kind of the catalyst was this shot in which people really of all kinds of segments of the population felt deeply hurt. And so that erupted in a historic protest that eventually, in 2 weeks of protest, in which people demonstrated, showing all the colors of what it's like to be a Boricua. in a mostly peaceful endeavor that led to the resignation of the governor. I say this is a surprise, the whole musical, how it originated, because when I was there covering it, I knew I had to be precise, take the pictures and do my notes and write quickly, but I felt that there was an extra reason why I was covering this, which did not become clear until months later when I started writing songs as a way to try to cope and understand what it was that we have been going through. And so it was an element of trust, of listening to the first melody, Calle De Resistencia, and believing that it could be something, an exercise of faith. And then came the diamond in this production, which is my sister Martixell, who first had those frail songs that I had produced in my guitar. She had them, and she was my confidant, and she said, you have something worthwhile here. And at some point I just made the leap, I'm gonna write a musical. And so that's how it happened. And with the support of that was the beginning, and with the support of Martixell, seeing the possibilities, we did a workshop with very talented actors from the diaspora and from Puerto Rico, among which was Denise Blasor, la abuela, doña Magali, y la pieza clave, estas dos mujeres, me encanta, these two key people, these two elements, these two diamonds. I'm glad that we started mentioning the sacred feminine, the women behind this production, because the women in Puerto Rico have also been behind the changes and are at the forefront of this movement. And the power that you will feel on this piece is great, really comes from that heart that Denise Blasor, Martixell Carrero, and the whole crew, but really, I think from love originated this, love and faith, not so much patience because we didn't have too much time.
Wow, that's really, thank you so much for sharing that, Milton, really. And hey, Martixell, you now are the second person, and definitely I'm going to Denise next. But when this begins and he begins writing, you say, aquí hay algo.
Sí, totalmente.
So what was it? I mean, we know that he's super talented. We know that the songs are great, but what was it that made you say, aquí hay algo?
As Milton was reminding me of those times, I get a little emotional because I remember, even though he remembers Calle De Resistencia as being the first one, I remember when he sang the song that actually the character that Denise plays, La Abuela, sings. I remember hearing how much heart was in his original recordings. And it takes me back when I was younger, and I used to hear his first compositions as a kid, you know, and I sort of was taught by my brother to appreciate music when it's very raw and it's core, and to preserve sort of the heart behind, you know, the inception of it. You understand? And so then, of course, there's other processes that happen, and we were lucky and grateful to have Juan Matos and Ramos Velarde that helped, and Shafiq as well that helped, and David Marrero that helped with the music, and, you know, the arrangements and all of these other things that happen after. But I, as a teatrera and as a performer myself, for my, as far as I know in my life, I was able to, I think that I definitely heard the strength, the heart, and that's, to me, that is the core of anything artistic that you want to develop. If it's not there then there's no purpose in doing it. But he definitely had it, and then it was a matter of developing it and working. You know, Milton comes from the point of view of a journalist. We all come, Denise and Shafiq and me, you know, we come from the point of view more of you know, story. it's the different ways of seeing story. And so that was an interesting element as well. And maybe I should pass it along to Denise now so she can share a little bit more on you know, on that, on what it was, you know, to collaborate, all of us bringing the best that we could offer to the table, trusting that we had a gem in Milton's work.
Definitely, you definitely do. Denise, let's talk about how they brought you in. How did that happen? How did you get involved with the project? So we heard from Martixell, we have heard from Milton. Talk to us about your journey with the project.
So I get a call from Martixell Preciosa, and she tells me that she's got this script that she would like for a group of people, friends, to read. And so we have a Zoom meeting, and we start reading this beautiful piece and hearing some of the music so that we would understand that it was a musical and that it was in progress, and etc. After we finished the Zoom meeting, we had a Q&A, and we started talking about it and what would we do with this project. And so I remember saying, well, if I was the director, I would do such and such a thing, and blah, blah, blah. And so we all laughed. We all agreed that it was a beautiful idea, a beautiful project to be. So a few weeks later, I hear again from Martixell, and she says, "What if you directed this piece?" And I said, "Yeah, let's go, let's do it, hands on." At the time, all the theaters were shutting down, and so there was no possibility of doing it as a play in Los Angeles in a 99 waiver theater, unless in a bigger theater. So we just started reading it and workshopping the play itself, changing some of the characters in what they had to say. Martixell was only going to be the producer at the time, but I just felt that she was perfect for Adela, and that she was the only Adela that I wanted to work with. And given that she can sing and she can dance and she's an amazing actor, and that the story was a story that belonged to her. You know how certain roles you're born to do, and this was one of the roles that I really felt Martixell had to do. And so we started rehearsing in Zoom, and at the beginning it was just reading the play and changing factors of the language, of the story, of what each character was going to say, and then, you know, I mean, you need to get it in your feet, and so we would stand up and rehearse standing up. There were moments in which we realized that this needed to be filmed, but there was no theater that was going to give us a space. And finally, Martixell and Shafiq found a little place in Santa Monica Boulevard, and we made the deal. And you know how it is when you finally enter the space, it's magical because theater is magical. And as we entered, we saw this little black box and all the possibilities of opening doors and windows and light filtering in. And Shafiq and I went through the corridor to find where else to shoot, whether we could shoot one scene in the stairways or by the window. There was a window that you could see the Hollywood sign, and it was just so perfect for Bieke. And, you know, Bieke is in Los Angeles versus all the other characters are in Puerto Rico. So how to show that that difference between the two characters, the two places before Bieke actually joins the rest in Puerto Rico. There were moments in which the actors, prior to finding the theater, were afraid of actually rehearsing in person. So there was this possibility of shooting it, self-taping, and then somehow, in our crazy way of thinking, to join all the elements, all the acting, and put it together. But of course, that didn't happen. But the story is not just about these characters. It's about Puerto Rico. So we really started thinking of getting footage, original footage of what was happening in Puerto Rico during Maria and during 2019 con Rosselló y compañía. So we started getting that. Martixell was phenomenal in which she would contact people that she didn't even know and say, can we use this picture? Can we use este pequeño film que tienes en YouTube or wherever? And everyone would obey. Everyone would be part of this incredible piece that we had so much heart. Finally, the day of shooting happens. We shot in 3 days at the theater, and putting the new element of film versus stage, the elements of light, the elements of blocking, the elements of, in a stage production, it's rather big versus in film, the acting is more diminutive, no? So everything just worked out in its way. There was so much excitement with the actors and so much love. I mean, it was truly a production based on love and trust and belief and passion and telling the story through truth, through heart. That's all I can describe it as. Opening your heart completely and showing the audience, this is what happened, this is what is now, this is what we want. Y así fue la fiesta.
Correcto. Gracias, Denise. That was, you touched on a couple of things that are really critical components of this experience, right? Not only how heavy and loaded, and at the same time it's a labor of love, but there's all this emotion connected to the project. But you also mentioned the fear of COVID, the fact that you're bringing a group together at such a critical, you're dealing with something that it's heavily centered around trauma, with Maria, and then this situation with Rosselló, right? Where el pueblo dice, somos, ya, se acabó. Like, we're going in and we're not going to stop until you leave. So, but let's talk a little bit about the pandemic. So, Chill, tell me a little bit, and I know that nickname has to come because I believe you have that effect wherever you go. So obviously appreciate it. En Calle De Resistencia hacía falta Chill to balancear la ecuación. But I want to talk about, from as a co-producer, and you're navigating this, that it's heavily emotional, it's intense, there's all this investment, it's a labor of love, but you're dealing with this pandemic. Talk to us a little bit about that from your perspective.
This was key because we were very conscious of the fact that we were, smack in the middle of it. And the last thing we wanted was to, have another casualty because of something we could have done differently or, avoided. So from the second that we decided that there was a possibility to shoot this on the theater stage, it was all a matter of, first of all, becoming COVID compliant. So that meant training Martixell, myself, on how to run a COVID compliant set, ensuring that these, sanitary rules were, followed religiously, convincing our actors that we would have them rehearse in the safest condition. That meant with face coverings, that meant with social distancing on stage. So you can imagine the challenge of rehearsing not just a musical, but songs. When you can't see the actor's mouth, you can't see, half of their face. So you have to guess the emotion that the other actor is giving you, and you're 8 feet or more across from the stage as well. So that was incredibly challenging. But I think we were incredibly resourceful because we came up with creative solutions to everything. For example, we tried to minimize the interactions. It's like, okay, in this scene, who needs to be present? Okay, it's this person speaking and singing to this person. Okay, so they can rehearse from 20 feet, and then
the tests too.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh, first of all, everybody was tested
Multiple
weekly.
times.
And we made a pact with the actors. We say, we're going to run a COVID compliant set, but we trust you that you're going to go home, not go out, not see anybody. You know, you're going to go buy food, go home, theater, and back, and that's it. And that's the commitment it's going to take for this to work. So yeah, between their commitments and our really being everything we could diligently to ensure that we were working in the safest condition possible, we were able to, you know, make it work. Wasn't easy. Definitely not easy.
No, I'm pretty sure it was not.
We feel grateful that everything worked out. We feel incredibly grateful that everything worked out the way it did.
But can we go back to what you said? Ahí hay algo. Right? There's something very special about this production. There's something very special. And you know,
the start really had to align, you know, because when you think of this, we shot an 80-minute movie in 3 days. And I don't mean to sound pretentious, but that's unheard of.
No, correcto.
I don't know of any movie that has shot a full feature with 20 songs in 3 days.
And that speaks highly of everyone involved.
For sure.
Every single person involved had a responsibility that they took upon themselves and they delivered. And so that's why we were able to do it.
Claro, and I will go, sorry if I'm me, I don't mean to be presumptuous here, but that comes from that love, because you understood how important this material was, and it's alignment, as Chill is saying, but it's also timing, right? And I'm thinking, you know, when I first watched it, and it's like, oh, this was shot in September. Okay, it's 3 days, but September for us changed in 2017. September became something different because of Maria.
Yeah.
So it's like all those things are right there. And, you know, everything that you're describing and everything that Denise described too, in terms of your willingness to reach out and talk to folks and say, I want to use your image. Can I use this? I think that was, tú sabes, there are muchas cosas que son súper acertadas, composiciones, todo, es una pieza completa, you know, bien impresionante, pero the using of the footage and giving the audience that, oh, espérate, yeah, I saw that in the news, or people that do not know and have not been as connected with Puerto Rico. It just adds a different element. And
I was sorry to cut you off. That was all Martixell.
No, it wasn't only.
Yeah, it was.
Ya está guilladita, como decimos en la isla, ya se quiere guillar. I know.
No, I want to say that the fact that this work was Milton has two things, you know, he's a journalist and he is a singer-songwriter, and they're both, you know, elements very important in the story. And when I read the story for the first time, you know, there's a lot of he had really wanted the footage to be part of it. You know, there were parts where it said, maybe sometimes it was a little too much, right? That we were like, oh my God, how are we going to do this in the real stage? Because, right, this would have been completely different had it been done on the stage. It would have been interesting, and I'm very interested to see how maybe the footage will come in the stage whenever we are able to do this as a theater performance. Pero that element of documentary was there in the script. And so I think it gave us, como dicen en español, un pie forzado. I don't know how do you say that. Un pie forzado para lo que terminó siendo, that ended up being with the with Denise's input, with the editing, with the input of all those videographers that said yes and were willing to give us their footage.
No, one thing, what common thread that I see and that I could feel, right? Maybe selfishly including myself in the, you know, in the mix as an audience member, but somebody that is connected to all of you, because of that love for the island, right? Nuestra patria. And I'm just like, it was, you know, listening to Milton earlier talking about that dual role when he is really covering, but at the same time he has all this, he starts writing the songs, and it's like, you know, there's some healing that happens there, or some navigating of like your own. I don't want to be presumptuous. Milton me va a decir que tú sabes del healing mío, pero you know what I mean? There's something that se nutre, that is nurtured through that process, that you're like processing in real time, everything that it's unfolding, and then tapping into your creative juices to like, there is healing. I would say for me, like when you're talking about the actors, even your collaboration, it's like that sense of you're doing, ahí hay algo, volvemos otra vez, ahí hay algo. There is something, but there is something, it's not only that you see that spark, is that there is something to be done, that there's something that we need, that it's something that you're offering with your love to all of us as a community. To those that love Puerto Rico but don't know it, to get a window, right? There are muchas cosas que son bien acertadas. Like I mentioned when we were doing intros earlier, when we first connected, you know, the Centro de Periodismo Investigativo, de Jay Fonseca, de Sandra, I was like, okay. You know, it's like, it makes it, you know, somebody who may not be, that is in la isla, va a decir, Dios, espérate, mira, están mencionando esto, right? De Vieques,
Right.
de no hay señal. Oh my God, I couldn't stop crying my eyes out. No hay señal. You know how desperate, I don't have to tell, like 3-4 days, like trying to find, like you can, you know, you're talking to somebody that when Maria happened, I had my only niece was 7 months pregnant. And I was like, oh my God, 3 feet of water, she's standing in the roof, like all these things, and days go by and you cannot get anybody. You know, how you connect everything, the aftermath of Maria, to what's happening with Rosselló, to how it's so centered on key values, the relationship with the grandparents, like, it's just, yeah, sorry.
Oye, me vas a hacer llorar. Estate quieta, por favor.
No, pero es que está fuerte, no, está fuerte, de verdad. Tú lo sientes en el corazón. Esa desesperación que tú sentías de la familia y el que tú traigas, the fact that you bring the story and it's such, it's heavy, but the way that it's portrayed and the way that it's developed, it's still enjoyable. You know
Thank you.
I mean? That's a secret sauce, bro, to do that. And that goes to all of you, right? Because I know that there's also the collective of the 4, you know, all of you coming together and really working through this process, and then the actors. And to Chill's point, it's like, yeah, you're going to go home, you're going to buy your food, you're going to, you know, that commitment is like, pero es que yo quiero ser parte, I want to be part of it. This is an important piece.
Yeah.
And I can't see anything else that would inspire some, like, at least personally, the love for the land, the love for what you can contribute, and especially a country like Puerto Rico that has suffered so much, and it feels like we're constantly, you know, struggling, constantly fighting to keep what we still have, you know, of our resources, of our beauty, of our power. So
Celebra
yes.
nuestra esencia. That's what the piece does. It really captures our essence in a way that it's just, de verdad. Y con todo y eso, ustedes tienen, entre todo esto, por ejemplo, el personaje del policía, it's like, you know, you made it loaded, like, but you were able, and you treated the subjects and the intersections of different, you know, dynamics within families, dynamics within community, you know, different tensions in a way that was, you know, very cohesive. And at the same, you know, that sometimes you see pieces that is like, ay bendito, es que metieron, you know, they put like 20 million subjects, like, you know, those are 3 movies in one. I got it. You wanted to do that. And you know, the reality is that based on the subject that you're addressing, mhm, got you. Eh, based on the subject that, you know, you're touching, hurricane, you know, you know, the whole thing with Rosselló and the chat, the ups, you know, the civil, like people up in arms, like pushing for him to resign, police brutality, you know, homophobia, like and it's like, whoa.
Domestic violence, which is a very,
Prevalent.
topic that's, as you know, we just have two more cases yesterday. So it's very much something that needed to be addressed, because I mean, I'm certainly less Puerto Ricans than everybody else in the crew, but
We have adopted you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna buy that, but okay.
but
I think you were grandfather a minute ago.
but
And I'm saying a minute ago in a very American way, not that a minute ago, but a minute ago.
but my point was that these are topics that had not been addressed. At least personally, I had not seen them in a movie or in a play or in a TV show, and they're so important. They're so important. Someone needs to talk about them so we can finally have these conversations and make progress. We kept saying whenever we were making this, from the shooting to the editing to the post-production, we were just hoping that this is just the starting point. We want this to be a starting point of conversations. We want this to help, move the needle on some of these highly, highly important subjects. And if we can help just a tiny fraction of that, then we'll be happy that we went through this whole endeavor.
What happens is that you do it in a way that it doesn't sound, it's not like, oh, we all have been there where they're like the best of intentions, things that were like, okay. And it's like, okay, you made a left and now you made it like super, like preachy, heavy, like, woof, like I need a break. But
Sure.
you managed to do it in a way that it's like, okay. I was like, whoa, like blown away, like really, really. Yeah, so and you talk about the fact that you wanted to do a larger production, but I also believe the same way that we talk about alignment, that there's silver linings, and there, in difficult times is when we get to like be our creative juices keep on flowing and we leads to innovation. Like really there, you might have won, your initial intent was to do a musical with more people. I think it's just, you got it just the way that you needed to do it. Right. So it's one of those that it's like, oh, pero I wanted to do it this way. And it ended up, worked out beautifully. I want to talk also about the fact that there's, you guys, if I understand correctly, there's an award that the production secure, right? But more centered around the music. Am I correct with that?
Milton.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, we were very excited that we were chosen at the Palm Beach International Music Awards, and in the best indoor production, right? But basically, it's really exciting because it has as judges people that have been a reference point for me, an inspiration, como Aldi Miola, Arturo Sandoval, Diego Torres, que también, so John Secada. So to have the attention of them and these artists that I respect and that they respect the music, and also I want to take that opportunity to honor Juan Matos and Ramon Velarde, who were the musical production, who did all the arrangements and musical production for the 20 songs. And in many cases, they just did exactly what I was feeling that needed to happen. In other times, they say, we need to cut this here, we need to do that. And I, as a journalist, I'm used to that. And I as I listen to you talk about your journey, there were so many things that just kind of blossom in me listening to you. And I think I appreciate that you found that arc and that cohesion, and the reason why that is clear is because of that whole cast of people who each of whom gave it their all, who put their egos aside, and every revision was worthwhile because we would go deeper and deeper into the issues that we wanted to touch. And yes, there was magic, just like there was some magic at Calle Resistencia in itself during those days of protest. There was we this cast recorded the movie September 17th to the 20th, which is
Right.
commemorates the anniversary of Maria, and all throughout this piece, I think that there's an element of ancestry, of prayer and ancestry, of honoring that we are a composite of many, many things. That includes the African culture for more than just the superficial that we have honored them for, their spirituality, their roots to the island. And same with the Taino culture that's still very much alive in our DNA and in the way that we live and speak and practice certain ways of connecting to Mother Earth. And the Jíbaro is still in us. And if I was able to write those songs, it's because I'm a Jíbaro inside it who can improvise and live that way. And so I I think that what has become very clear and what I wanted to achieve with this, first, I am in awe of the product that has come out in the circumstances that were so adverse, but at the same time so unifying for this magical group of people, talented folks from different walks of life, to walk together. We grew together. I wanted to, for the Puerto Rican especially, um, but for all humanity. I have to look first through my window because that's where I grew up, and that includes my love for Puerto Rico is my love for humanity, because if you cannot love your very essence, then it's very difficult to understand anything else. And so in my journey, it was about understanding really what it is to be a Puerto Rican, including also the American influence, which is present in the music, which is present in the homage to the Black Lives Matter movement, which is very much a core of our reality,
Exactly.
and an opportunity now that we have to move together to more inclusive Puerto Rico, more inclusive United States, more inclusive humanity.
And that we were living it while we were, I mean, June, that's what we were looking to the left here outside the window, and we saw the police, and we saw the manifestations were happening as this was being, worked on. So
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly. I wanted to say something. I mean, even in the story, when we were rehearsing and we could hear the chanting, Black Lives Matter, and in the story itself, when it says, tengo que contar mi historia, aunque no quiera, soy un reportero, blah, blah, and we're seeing it. And because of it, that was what I always kept on thinking, because of what El Reportero is seeing in this moment in 2020, of Black Lives Matter chanting and saying this is not right, we need to fight for this, is what brings El Reportero to have to report of what his story is all about, of what happened in Puerto Rico in 2019. Why did why? ¿Por qué somos más y no tenemos miedo? Because that's what happened. Because 10 people started marching, and that 10 became 50, and that 50 became 100, and that 100 became 1,000. When we started seeing, and I was here in Los Angeles when it was happening, but when you start seeing a small group, and then suddenly this group multiplies and multiplies, and we're now seeing it in the videos that we're receiving, my heart, I mean, at times I would just weep after rehearsal. I would weep because I thought, my God, Mira la fuerza del pueblo. Cuando el pueblo se da cuenta, todos juntos, no matter what political ideas you have, no matter what, whether you're, si eres blanco, rosado, negro, whatever color you are, when you're all together and you're seeing the truth slapped in your face, you behave like a unit. You behave like one heartbeat. And it was magical. And you're right, the stars aligned with everything. And I am so proud of this work, and I am so grateful that I was included in it, and that we created this incredible piece.
I wanted to complete that point just quickly, and this is so beautiful in a way. This is how it happened. Exactly the way that you're seeing this conversation with Denise and Martixell, and this is how it was. We all brought to the table the best of us as artists, and Puerto Ricans during those days of protest brought there to the streets the best of them. And I think if you look at the way they expressed their discontent, it was so colorful, and it was correct, and it was more than you could ask of the common people that is often undermined. So if anything I wanted to achieve by creating this piece with this great cast was to leave that photo for the memory of our children, and for this generation and the ones that came before us and the ones that we lost on the way, that Puerto Ricans have in them so much talent, beauty, capability. We've suffered a lot, and we have undermined ourselves. So we need to gain that confidence in ourselves as equal human beings, part of this community. As an artist, I've always wanted to, in my life, achieve something that when people finish it, say, this is well done. Because when I see a piece of art that is well done, as a human being, I feel inspired. I feel like I can be part of the solution. And so I feel humbled to be able to say that, and to have worked with my sister in this project and the whole amazing group. And I hope this piece serves as a reminder, in your wall, within your consciousness. I am a human being who deserves well-being. And that's it. We don't need to assert an ego that is beyond. No. Every human being, no matter their gender, orientation, religion, deserves well-being. That's all.
Yes, and I think that's a great segue to also say that, you know, we have Shafiq, who's not Puerto Rican, he's Tunisian Swiss, and he gave his all as well in solidarity to our community. And we had a lot of people that were not Puerto Ricans that gave a lot of the resources as well to make this happen, which reminds us how connected we truly are. And that same thing you're saying, Milton, about we deserve to live a life of dignity, and if it's not given to us, we also need to get it ourselves, claim it, and that starts with that reaffirmation and that understanding of the value of the human being.
No, absolutamente. And that summer of 2019, hey, I would say, you know, with a lot of love and respect, that there have been moments where I have been like, there's some, maybe because you just focus, but I was concerned that there was a little bit of like numbness, right? Like people were just like in their devices, and it's like the distractions, right? And this summer of 2019, what happened in the island was really, and also in different communities, you know, across the world, where Boricuas gathered to say, Rosselló, you gotta go. It was really an opportunity, as you said, to reclaim, to assert, to say
and
no.
it continues up to today. Like, even yesterday,
Eso fue Yeah, yeah.
We have
Eso
a woman reminding our governor, you gave us the state of emergency because of gender violence in Puerto Rico. Now we want action. Now we want you to really put your action where your voice is, and we are not gonna stop until we get what we deserve. And that this is also, to me, part of what this project is, because this project is not, it's not just like, oh, this happened and oh, we're reminiscing about something that happened. No, we are telling you a story that continues, and every day, tomorrow we'll have more. It continues to expand. Anyway.
Sí, ha sido un despertar. It's been an awakening. It's been a reckoning. It's been like, we're not taking it anymore. We want to live with dignity. We deserve what, and it's okay for us to claim what we know that we deserve, what our children need, what our families need, what our women need. For audience members that are not as connected to news in Puerto Rico, you're talking to a community that is mourning the loss of 2 women in less than a week. It's a problem that, as Marixel mentioned, has been happening, and it's something that needs to be addressed, but we're just dealing with 2 cases that were all devastated.
It's a
About.
systemic problem that we talk about also in the film briefly. And it's a systemic problem that we have to look, just like communities. I can imagine our Taino ancestry gathering together and saying, okay, how have we failed as a community? How we often have to look at each other with a mirror and say, okay, how can we be better, and how can we serve our community better? I find that healthy to do. Every community should look at itself and say, okay, what changes can we make?
Correcto. No hables de eso. No, that whole thing. That never went too far with me. My grandma will be like, no. And I'll be like, no, we got to talk about it. And absolutely, we have to talk about it. And so mentioning that, so let's just go this way. What are your hopes for folks when they watch this piece, and what do you want to be the takeaway besides everything that you have shared? Is there a specific takeaway in terms of a community process that you want people to get from the piece?
If anything more general than just this piece, I think that art needs to be valued and included as part of the conversation, as a good venue to truly get to the bottom of these core issues. Now, as we're looking for solutions, we should welcome more efforts towards art, because art provides a vessel to deal with pain, to deal with frustration in a way that creates beauty and that educates and helps together, because we need solutions coming in from every realm. All you have to do is drive around Puerto Rico. We need solutions, and we need to be inclusive, and we need to be able to find points of agreement even if we don't look the same or believe in the same party philosophy, because we breathe a certain air that needs to be clean, and water that needs to be clean, certain things that are very basic. So any art is part of the solution. I think that is another thing that has to be included, because this is not only an issue of gender, it's an issue of consciousness, it's an issue of integrity, it's an issue of us rescuing the good in humanity, in us, all of us, todos, nosotros, nos toca. We have a lot of work to do. Like, not only does the government and the institutions have work to do, we have work to do within our homes, within ourselves, to rescue and to hold on to what it's like to be Puerto Rican, Boricua, and to what it's like to be a good person. The only way that we can really defeat violence and corruption is by breathing and loving and caring and helping people, bringing up children that are more aware, more conscious, and who are given more chances. So it is a complicated issue that I hope will lead to more than just a superficial discussion. This movie has a lot of topics to be explored, I hope they go into the universities and schools and they talk about it, because we all need solutions, ideas nuevas coming from all over the place.
Correcto. Y esas oportunidades para ese diálogo. I
Yeah.
mean, the reality is that you touched on it. Art, I can tell you, you know, personally, I think, you know, music and film changed my life. You know, as a little kid, what film offered was a window for me to like think about how other people's realities and how they felt and things that were unknown to me that I could see like, oh, okay. And music. For me, you know, the Siembra album by Ruben Blades and Willie
Mhm.
Colon, I grew up in Puerto Rico and I remember Latinoamérica Unida and I was like, okay,
Mhm.
I got it. You know, listening to Plástico and hearing it, I'm like, oh, I was like 10 or 11 when that came out. I was like, oh, I get it. I get it. I have to be of service. This is
Mhm.
not only about just being, you got to like work with each other. And obviously, you know, this led to this path doing this work, right? That intersection of community and arts and culture and how that grounds us and unites us, and at the same time, as you so eloquently said, it brings the best out of each and every one of us. um, Thank you so very much. You know, this has been definitely, um, I know there are going to be lots of conversations. I know you guys are going to be really busy. People are going to absolutely love this film. I am beyond humble and honored that we're going to have the opportunity to share it with the PHLAFF audiences as part of our 10th edition. We're super excited to have the opportunity and grateful to have the opportunity to collaborate with the Annenberg Center to bring the sneak preview so they can see, you know, have an opportunity to look into this window and see this fabulous work and get to know uh, each and every one of you and how you come together and the special sauce that that you are serving us. We really enjoyed it. Is there anything that you would like to share as we're getting to wrap up? That, you know, any messages, anything, any upcoming engagements, anything that you want audiences to know?
If you like the film and you enjoy it, please share it with your friends and family in Puerto Rico and beyond. And we, besides here at the Annenberg Center, which we're very grateful to be as part of their programming, we also will be at the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival. And you can, if you can't catch us here or your friends can't catch us here, then you can send them over May 30 to June 7th so they can see the piece, and also just follow calleresistencia.com to get more information.
Fantastic, fantastic. And Martixell, I know you also, you know, there are otras cositas que tú haces, so stay tuned because we're definitely going to hear more about her work and what she does. I want to say that, you know, I want to give an opportunity to Chill and Milton and Denise to see if they want to share anything. So let's start with you, Chill.
Well, just very, very grateful to the Annenberg Center, and we're very honored for being the last film picked for their spring series for this year.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much for that. And also to you, Marangeli, and the whole staff at the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a privilege to first of all get to know you. We're very, very honored to be part of your official selection, and we can't wait for it to start May 30th through June 6th. Is that it?
Uh-huh.
June 6th. Yeah.
It's been amazing. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to go to Denise and then we're going to wrap it with Milton. Denise.
So thank you. My heart and your heart combined. Mucho amor.
Oh my
Tan
God.
agradecida. Tan agradecida. And I just want to say, yes, we have to have empathy. And yes, we have to have art. But besides that, we have to have action. Because we can have all the empathy we want and care for so many people, but if there's no action, it's all empty words. And so that's my message. Empathy, yes. Heart, yes. Arms, strong arms to do the work and
Absolutely.
not be afraid.
Muchísimas gracias. Milton, dímelo.
Gracias. Thank you. Gracias. Solamente gracias.
Oh,
Thank you
mijo.
so much. What an honor and a privilege to be able to bring this work so close to our community on both sides of the charco.
Absolutamente, absolutamente.
Both sides of the ocean, because the heart unites us. So, gracias, Boriqué vive en ti.
Oh, lo sabes.
Oh.
24/7. La caguana aquí y el coquí en el pie izquierdo. And I want to say to you that as somebody who has not had the opportunity to go back to the island for the past, we're over 9 years now. And and somebody who people ask, pero ¿hace cuánto tú te mudaste para acá? And I'm like, in 1988, I'm like, nena, pero si tú suena como si saliste de la isla ayer. That's what they tell me all the time. It's like, es que, as you said, vive en mí each and every day. And very proud of it. Y tú sabes que si el acento, que si esto, que bregue. I'm super happy. And I will always say, there are a lot of things that I like about myself, but being Puerto Rican is number one. Absolutamente. Ser boricua es lo más bonito de los regalos con que he sido bendecida. Un honor el estar con ustedes. We're claiming you, Chill. We're claiming you. Just know that. I want to take, before we go, I just want to thank again the Annenberg Center and their team. On behalf of Afrotaino and on behalf of the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, it's an honor to share space with you and to be able to co-present this with the Annenberg team. And now here comes the shameless plug. Yes, they said it and it's right. The 10th edition of the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival runs from May 30th through June 6th. So my people, watch it now and come back and watch it again. What can I say? You can't lose. It's a win-win. Thank you, Annenberg. Thank you, everybody. Check Calle De Resistencia at your earliest, or the first opportunity. As we say in Philly, act like you know, and check out the film. All right? Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Gracias a todos. Thank you.
Thank you.